Now we're on to riff number 2, and for this riff, we're going to be focusing our attentions to possibly the biggest band in grunge, and that is Nirvana. If there was ever a band that completely changed the direction of music in the early 90s, it was Nirvana with the release of Nevermind. It completely shifted the dynamic of modern music and remains to this day one of the most influential albums in rock history. We're going to be focusing on a couple of different concepts that you would hear in Kurt Cobain's iconic rhythm guitar style. We can hear it on such tracks as Smells Like Teen Spirit, Lithium, In Bloom, and many others. Now, the approach that we're going to be looking at is how Kurt Cobain, when he was changing between power chords with the root note on the E string or the root note on the A string, how he would just move his third finger, effectively keeping pretty much the same shape with the third finger, whether he was playing with the root on the E or the root on the A. We're also going to look at the way that Kurt Cobain formed his chord progressions. They had a very unique and unusual sound that we really associate with grunge. Now, I mentioned the Kurt Cobain power chord. Basically, when Kurt Cobain was playing a power chord with its root note on the low E, he wasn't playing it that precisely in the sense that he would play either 2 strings or 3 strings. Very often he would just lay his third finger across, which meant that he would catch the G string. Now that was really handy for him when he would change to a chord that had its root note on the adjacent string. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be playing from this A power chord where you're touching the G string on the same fret as you're fretting the A and the D strings. It's like a sus4 chord. And then we're going to play a C major chord. You can see that you're pretty much holding the same shape. You're just moving the third finger down onto the next 3 strings. Now, instead of going back to the A chord, Kurt Cobain would often make these unusual intervallic jumps with the chords to give them quite a sinister sound within a chord progression. So instead of going back to A, we're going to go to A flat. Then we're going to jump up a 5th to play an E flat major chord. So again, it's the same chord move. You're keeping that same bar shape, but just dropping it down onto the next group of strings. And then we go back to the A Kurt Cobain or A5 power chord with that added 4th to start the progression again. But that jump there, it's a flat 5 interval, so it's quite a sinister sounding interval. Let's now play through that riff with the click. So the rhythm for this riff is quite straightforward, but again, it's quite stylized. You're going down, down, up. Okay, so the upstroke that follows the second downstroke is slightly misplaced. But when you do that, you're kind of changing chord. So quite often there would be open strings, or you would just catch the chord as you moved. Don't worry too much about trying to get the chord itself with that rhythm. Okay, because you're going to be moving at that point, but that upstroke sort of fills in the gap. And then we're doing 4 downstrokes on the chord that has its root note on the A string. So we do 4 downstrokes on the C chord. And then we just repeat that rhythm for the A flat to the E flat. Okay, so that upstroke is just sort of filling in the gap when you go to change chord. Okay, so now it's time for you to practice riff number 2. This is our Kurt Cobain style power chord riff.